Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Loeries Creative Hour. So good to have all of you here and joining us today from across Africa and the Middle East. I'd like to say a special warm welcome to our guest, Nobantu Sibeko, who's the Integrated Creative Director at the King James Group, and Ahmed, who now just goes by Creative Consultants. Welcome, Ahmed. Welcome, Nobantu. I'll wait for you to switch on your cameras and switch on your mics. But also, while we're waiting for this, Loeries entries are now open. So for everyone who's out there who hasn't had a chance to enter yet, 31st of May is the cutoff date for the Loeries entries this year. We just finished our early bird round, and I'm looking forward to having some amazing entries. We're already seeing some unbelievable work coming through from across Africa and the Middle East. And if you want your work to be part of that list of amazing work that's going to be judged this year, please don't forget, you've got up until the 31st of May. Go to www.loeries.com and you'll get all the information that you need there. But first, welcome to Ahmed and welcome to Nobantu. Just waiting for Nobantu's camera to go on there.
Thought I'd let Nobantu go first.
Yes, you should say.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Hi Nobantu. I can't see you. I don't know if it's just on my side or on everyone else's side, but
you can't see me.
I can't see you.
Hi guys, and it's working on my side. I can see you and your live video. I can see Ahmed and his gray hairs.
I told you not to fuck this up, and there you
It was fucked up before we started. Not that he's sabotaging me, guys.
Shame about it. We're blaming you there. But let's blame Clocky, who's on the Loeries side. So thanks to Clocky and the team who are managing that. We'll blame Clocky for now while we figure this out. Welcome to the both of you. I mean, I'm looking forward to a good chat. And I haven't chatted to, I think, the both of you since last year. It's way too long. Life is moving way too quickly. And that's because I guess we've all been fighting out there and it's been like this crazy world. Nobantu, have you figured out what's happening with the camera? Unless this is the mysterious.
I'm trying to figure it out. I don't understand because I can see you perfectly and your smile. I can see Ahmed in his gray hairs. Can everybody else see me? Maybe it's just you, Preetesh, and your connection.
No, I can't see you either.
No, guys, hold on.
Here we go. Amir Collier's got advice. He says, switch on the lights.
That's not funny. We've got lights here. Let me just try to figure out. I'm just gonna mute myself, guys, while I try to figure out what's going on.
Oh man, listen, it's always good. And then Amir's got from all the way from Canada has got some stories today. It says remove the sticker from your camera. There we go. Every single possible suggestion. But Ahmed, yeah, we haven't chatted in a while, and I think it's this year for the Loeries, our focus is on fighting the good fight. There's never an easy time to be a creative or be in the creative space, is there? Because it's continuous fighting and there's always challenges. So it's just today is just our opportunity to sit back and look back at some of the fights that we've had to fight. And I know you've fought a lot of really good fights throughout your entire career, and you continue to do so. So maybe if you can tell us about some of that. Why is it necessary for us to fight for good ideas, and why should we not just sit back and just go, hey, I've had an idea and people said no to it, and let's just accept it and move on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the thing that creates most of the frustration in creative people, and over the years I've often wondered why I'm fighting so hard or to drag a client into doing what's best for the client, which is quite an interesting thing. If you're fighting really hard for your own self-interest is one thing, but I think most of the better creative people out there, get really frustrated and have to fight the good fight so that the client actually, or the brands actually do the kind of work that's going to put them in good stead. And that's quite an interesting thing, because usually the fight is dedicated to your own purposes, whereas in the creative fields, you're fighting for someone else. So yeah, I know we're fighting for our own egos as well, and for putting our names on work that we're proud of. But ultimately, I think the best creatives believe that the great creative work has great results for the client. And so, we're constantly going to war, so to speak, with the very people we're fighting for, which is very interesting for me.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because I started off my career in the brand world, and I remember my boss calling me in and first year of work, maybe in the first couple of months, but first year of work, and he went, um, and he told me I just had to like basically give the creative team a little bit of crap. So I'm not going to mention the name, but say like, don't accept anything at first go. You absolutely have to go and challenge everything and fight it down. And here's me, first year out of university, who's been told to do this. And later on, I realized it's been told to do this with somebody who's worked in the brand a lot longer than I have, and a lot longer than my boss had at the time. And you only realize that much later on that the creative team has been holding on to this brand and working it for a lot longer than the brand team. Have you found that as well in terms of the brands you've worked with?
Yeah, I mean, two things. Well, three things. Firstly, I hope Nobantu comes back quickly because she's got a
Me
lot to add
too.
to this. The second thing there, the first thing that you mentioned was like, to be difficult to creative people because I don't know, that just never made sense to me. I mean, it's like anything in life or in business, you just got to take a very approachable view on things, and you've got to be quite reasonable about it, and just like apply common sense, really. So, this idea of like making creative people sweat for it. It doesn't make sense that you don't buy something for the first time. I mean, there are ideas and there are more ideas, and there's always a better idea. But if it makes sense for the brief and it does a really good job for it, there's no reason why you shouldn't accept it the first time or the first on the first go. I think there is, and I'm obviously clearly and obviously unashamedly a creative person. Welcome, Nobantu.
Hey,
Um,
Nobantu.
Is it working?
We
yes, we
see
can see
you.
you.
Yeah, we do.
Perfect. No, guys, I was fighting technology. No, everyday fight of my life, technology and sabotaging me.
Are you sure you didn't just switch the lights on? Are you sure you just didn't?
No, I'm at King James, guys, and we've got electricity, so the lights are on here.
Oh, Nobantu, I was just chatting to Ahmed while we were waiting for you about, this it's such a challenge. I was saying my first year of work is I was basically told, you got to like hassle the creatives a bit. You don't just accept anything at first go. In fact, I think there are companies out there that love this kind of fight and animosity that must exist between the creative team and the brand team. Is this something that you actually find? Is this a reality in the world today still?
And I'm like, why though, guys? Because we're all on the same team, right?
Yeah.
Client side, internal side, creatives. We're all on the same team. We're all trying to make the best work and to make every brand successful and the best it could be. So this thing of animosity between teams and clients, I don't understand it because I'm like, it actually perpetuates very toxic environments. And that's the thing I'm fighting now, whereas you're losing good creatives because they're having to fight they don't need to fight internally with each other, because we all shouldn't be doing that. We're all on the same team trying to do the best work and build brands from together. So why are we still fighting those fights? Why are we not understanding that actually the relationship between client service and creative and client, the best relationships, those are the best kind of works you get, and the best brands are actually built with those kind of good relationships. So to have that kind of narrative stuff, I don't understand it, because we're just creating more toxic environments, and it's not helping with us creating good work. We shouldn't be fighting each other at all.
Maybe that's a good point. I mean, is this toxicity that seems to be promoted and it's not across the board. I mean, this is just in certain organizations, certain groups, but this almost toxic environment, this toxic mindset between the creative teams and the brand teams. Ahmed, have you ever actually seen this yield amazing results? Does it actually end up with some great creative?
So I want to clear something up, because I think there are good clients and bad clients, and good agencies and bad agencies. And I think that's the difference. I think the bad agencies and clients have fights. I think the good ones debate. And I've had lots of debates, and I think that's a different thing. And so I've had lots and lots of debates in creating some of the best work of my career. And that didn't come without a healthy discussion. I've had fights which became petulant and childish and didn't yield any good results. And it's a very solid line between the two of them. So the clients who have respected us as agency and trusted us as agencies, with the same people who allowed us to argue and discuss and debate. And that's hugely encouraged because it leads to better work. And I can go through my entire career and name actual clients who allowed that to happen. Recently, even as my consultancy, having worked with a client directly, I had exactly that, and it led to good work. So, I think that we've got to discriminate between the two. And I've done very well with tough clients who are fair, and really badly with bad clients who are just unreasonable. And that's the difference really. Good clients, good agencies, bad clients and bad agencies really.
Where do you start the debate from? What's your base point for any debate in terms of anything that's being rejected? Ahmed.
So it's always a tough one because our discussion's never a factual one. It's never based on science. It's based on gut and instinct and our understanding of how well we know or how well we understand people. So the discussion is very difficult. But I was thinking about it the other day. I was just like, how many ads do you put out in 10, 15, 20 years of your career? How many ideas have you come across in that spell of time? How much strategy, brand work, and other work that you go through just to refine your skill in your intuition? Now, that's not something that's quantifiable. So you're ultimately sitting there having a debate about what you feel is right versus or what you know to be right without it being confirmed. And I think that's quite a difficult discussion to have. Nobantu, you might want to jump in there.
Yeah, I'd love
yes,
to know
I think also that question is always to with these debates is, who are we creating the work for? Why are we here in the first place? Because you'll find that most fights happen when people have forgotten the objective of why we're creating work in the first place. And like egos are getting involved and people have got their own agendas. But if you actually bring the question back to why you're actually there in the room. Why did you approach a creative agency? Why did you actually put the brief in? What are you trying to do? And we're all trying to make work for the consumer. I think the minute we started moving away from doing that and focusing on awards, and there's nothing wrong with awards, Loeries, there's nothing wrong with y'all. I'm not saying there is. It's very nice to win a Loerie award, to be on stage, but the objective is not that. The objective was always to communicate best to our consumers and create work for them. And if you always have that on top of everything you're discussing, then you should be debating, like how Ahmed said, you should be having healthy conversations because you're creating work for that and you're not fighting for your own ego or for your own award and for your own portfolio, So I always ask that question, who are we creating work for and why? And why?
And I think it's a good point. I mean, and I can tell you, us as the Loeries, we do not want work that has been created purely because somebody said, hey, let's use our clients' money to create a work so that we can win an award. We really want work that goes out there and that amazing creativity, but absolutely then has the ability to deliver on the objective of getting consumers excited about it and getting consumers to support the brand. And and in terms of the space, I mean, in terms of the debates that you've been having right now with some of the clients out there and the brands out there, I mean, just in terms of how logical is it? I mean, how logical are people once they get set in it? Do you find that it's easy to change people's minds once they've said no? Or is this ego still in place where a lot of people go, I've said no, and there's absolutely nothing I can do to change your mind?
Those clients, like you said, like Ahmed said, you don't fight with them, you don't debate with them, Another thing that, funny enough, Ahmed taught me was always try and speak to the reasonable side of a person. Every good client and every person's got a reasonable side. And if you try to reason with people and show them and give them facts and prove to them that, this is where you're coming from and this is what you're trying to achieve, then any reasonable client will listen and try to understand as well. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to make the best work. For the fights that I'm having with clients, the debates I'm having with my clients right now, there's always progress because each one of us can remove, our egos. And we also listen to each other's point of view and try to understand from their perspective why they want a certain thing done a certain way. And I think, as long as you guys are reasoning and you're both listening to each other and trying to understand another person's perspective, then of course we'll always create the best work and there will always be progress. For those clients who always say no, I always ask for a reason. Why are you saying no? I think you must always give a reason why you say no, so that we can better understand where they're coming from. There might be a reason why they're saying no, and those who are unreasonable, of course, the best way is to say, okay, I've given you my perspective. Go and shoot yourself in the foot, and we'll be here to help you fix the mess afterwards. There's nothing else. You must choose those battles. You can't win anything. So if you also choose your battles with clients, and if you can see that they're unreasonable, then let them go shoot themselves.
Okay. But listen, we love all the brands out there and stuff like that. And I think one of the things I realize is I can tell you, as I said, I started in the brand world. I sit here now and I look at myself when I was younger and I go, bloody hell, I was stupid. Just so stupid. And I made such crap work. Why? Because it's that get the logo bigger mentality, it's that same kind of mindset throughout everything, instead of actually creating creative work that makes a difference out there. If anyone's out there and wants to be part of the conversation, please, you've got the Q&A function. I think everyone's used to Zoom right now. Please share your thoughts in the Q&A function, or your thoughts on chat and questions in the Q&A. But I'm gonna get Ahmed, just so that we give everyone time to get their points across. I have a question from Amir Kolya, and he asks, what are some strategies that you've personally used to minimize the us versus them mentality within and outside the agency?
So I think, maybe alluding to the idea of spending more time with your client outside the working hours, something I'm not very good at. I don't do networking very well. I don't do whining and dining very well, but it does go a long way in creating a relationship, a friendship with you and your client. So ultimately, what it is trust. Ultimately, so you at different situations where you were in the room when you won the business. That was already the first step in developing some trust with the client who saw you in action and understanding. In the absence of that, you'll find someone like Nobantu or myself joining a company, inheriting a client that was already in that agency for a while, which is far more difficult. So it comes back down to trust. And in that case, what you have to actually do is you've got to prove yourself to the client. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the business, how many success stories you've got under your belt. You've got to start proving yourself to that client. And I believe the client needs to be proving themselves to you as well. And because actually, again, like I say, I judge clients. I judge clients in terms of whether you're a good client or a bad client, if you're a good marketer or a bad marketer. Because if you believe creativity can, create great brands, then you're, for me, one of the good clients already. If you don't, then we've got a problem. We're never going to see eye to eye. So I think that the approach, I'm a patient person and I try and have a patient approach to it. My strategy to answer the question is to win the client over in little steps, which most people don't have that patience to be able to do. I see it in the long haul. And that's the only way is to do a campaign or to do a project, to see the results come from it, to put your state your claim, put your point of view forward strongly enough for the client to understand where you stand on it, and hopefully climb up that ladder together. All right, that's the only strategy that's ever worked for me. I don't understand how you can shove a great idea down a client's throat, because that's not a pleasant thing. And even if the results are great, I don't know if you really enjoyed the experience. So I find that the only strategy is a long game and to go about it slowly. And as I say that it's connected to one of the other questions that came up. You also need to know when you can't have any effect on that client. You got to know when to pull the plug, when to cut, when to pull away from it and go, I can't do any more on this particular client. And then there's strategies that are in place to be able to address that. And I've used them effectively before, where I personally was not getting my way with the client and they weren't responding to me. And I used people that they enjoyed more and made them the creative people on the business, because there was a better rapport, there was better chemistry, and the same point of view expressed by that person would be seen favorably. So that's a strategy. sometimes it's a personality thing, and there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, two strategies: patience, and then people. The other one, change the people on the business.
And maybe Nobantu, before I get into Samikale's question again, which I'm going to answer a little bit as well, is, I mean, how much of this is actually from the brand side not really understanding what people on the creative side are doing? So they see titles and they see names, but they don't really have a full do you think it's possible that they don't have a full understanding in terms of the work that each individual is actually doing towards the project and contributing towards the project?
Yes, definitely. I think one of the conversations actually having with the team yesterday is having to take a step back from a project and bring our client on through the creative process, because they don't understand how we actually come up with the big ideas and campaigns. Because effectively they were asking for 2-day turnaround in a 2-month campaign, and I guess, from that was because they don't understand the process and what it takes actually to come up with, these award-winning campaigns. And I think, that's also another thing that people need to learn with when we onboard new clients is take a step back, introduce yourself. Not every client comes from the same background of marketing. We all come from different backgrounds and stuff. And not everybody understands what we do on a daily basis. You see timesheets. The other day I was complaining about timesheets. I was working very hard that day. But when it came to my timesheets, guys, I didn't know which line thing to put in because, half of my job was, having conversations with people. I was discussing this and that, and people don't understand that process, So I think it's take a step back, onboard clients, let them understand the process of creativity. Because when I say that, it will take me a whole day to come up with an idea, it's going to take me 5 hours in the shower. It's going to take me 2 hours in discussing it with Ahmed. It's going to take me 3 hours to go and read a book and, come up with the idea itself. So that's a process that, we all need to take our clients on so they can better understand, A, how we're solving their problems, and B, also, why it takes us so long, why are we fighting with them when we say we need more time, why are we pushing back on certain things, so that we both understand. And also from our side, I've always said jump on a call with the clients and also try to understand from them, what is their process, why do they feel pressured enough to do something in 2 days, why do they have these ridiculous deadlines. So I think it's a relationship thing and understanding each other's process and the way we work. I think we must all take a step back first, especially from pitch, and introduce yourselves and, teach people how you work so that, we can have a better working relationship. And those timesheets, we must also discuss timesheets. That's another thing we need to discuss.
We'll set up a whole hour just for timesheets.
There's no line items for what we do, Preetesh.
Maybe, and then on the flip side of that, Ahmed, do you think and anyone in the creative space truly understands different layers within the marketing organizations? I find that some people don't even know that there's the marketing assistant and assistant brand manager, marketing manager, because even in that side, I feel that there's maybe a lack of understanding whether the person you're speaking to who's giving you the grief, whether that's the right person whose opinion actually really matters or not.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's a fair amount of ignorance from creative people's side, from agency side, in terms of all the hoops that marketers have to jump through, or your client has to jump through. I think the consolation, or at least the thing that creative people tell themselves, is that cannot be more important than the idea that's about to make you richer. That's the bottom line, right? So if I can empathize that you've got difficult hoops to jump through, but if I got to consider that over and above the campaign idea or the brand idea that's going to make you famous in that very organization, and create more value for that brand that you're working with, then I'm going to be spending my time on the wrong thing. It's not my job to understand that stuff. My job as a creative person is to present you, the client, and your brand with the best creative idea that's going to make you wealthier, quite simply, right? And you do that by standing out and by doing all the things that we do. And so it's not my job to understand that stuff. It's my job to deliver that stuff. It's your job to learn to negotiate through those things. And if you can't, then respectfully step aside. And similarly, I think what's quite important is that the creative people who are small-minded in agencies, and this is the flip side, who are not honest enough to understand a business problem, right? It's not the client's place to also have to convince you. It's your job to understand a business problem. And if you're presenting work because it looks really glitzy and beautiful for the sake of that, then you're not much of a creative person. You should try your luck at art because we don't do very well. So I think it's there's a two-sided coin that we're talking about. I have very little time or patience for clients who don't understand that what we're doing is adding value to the asset and the equity, which is called the brand. That's the first thing. I think they think we're making ads, and that's a big mistake. And similarly, I've got very little time for creative people who want to show off how clever they are without understanding a business problem. And Nobantu knows this. We've worked together.
Yes.
That you can deliver great, shiny, creative work by answering a business problem, so it's possible. So anyway, I've kind of taken a long way to answer the question, but yeah, I have little sympathy for clients who've got political shit to get through because I'm not interested in that. If you can't do that, then give the job to someone who can do the right job on that side, so I can do my job best. And if everyone is doing their role, then we should actually come out all happier, healthier, and hopefully wealthier.
And maybe just leading from roles and responsibilities and the way it actually works is from one of our friends, Robin Phillips, and Nobantu. Maybe you're going to take this one. And Robin asks, I've heard an idea that account management, client services has moved into a mindset where they protect the client at all costs and stop protecting the creatives and the ideas. What are your thoughts?
Yo, Robin. Yeah, no, she's been in battles too. She sounds like, she's got scars, and she can also tell us stories about that. But then again, why are we protecting people and not the work? Because at the end of the day, we're all there to make campaigns and to make the best work. So if that's the goal at the end of the day, then we shouldn't. There shouldn't be a question about having to protect the clients and stuff. I know with client service, the best client service people that I currently work with actually, and people I've worked with in the past, are those that are able to find a happy medium between clients and understanding what client wants and how the creatives are solving the problem. So like Ahmed said, if you're trying to solve a business problem, then there wouldn't be a client service having to fight with the client and the creative in order to do that, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to solve one problem. So the mindset there, you'll find that, they also have difficult clients. And if you're a difficult client, I think you should always go back to the question I asked earlier: why are we all there, and what are we trying to achieve? This way, we're not fighting egos. We're not defending. I don't have an agenda that I need to push. I'll always put the work first. I think when you start putting the work first, then you won't have this sort of like friction, and the friction that exists between client service and creators, because at the end of the day, client service is there to best translate what clients' issues are, and also on their side to best translate what the creative solution is. There shouldn't be a thing of I'm trying to put, Nobantu's agenda of running a Loerie first, or the marketer's agenda to become the best marketer in the country. If the agenda is what's the best way to solve this work and this problem we have in front of us. So that mindset exists when you don't have the work in front of you. That is not your goal,
Can I jump in there,
Yes,
if I may,
Ahmed.
Preetesh?
Yeah.
I think Novanto's answered very well the practicality of that sort of situation, but I think maybe what Robin brings up is symptomatic of a bigger problem, which is where advertising's moved and how desperate agencies are to keep business at any cost, and that's resulted in creators feeling the burn. I think without actually explaining to creatives that we will do whatever the client asks us because we don't want to lose the business. And I think that's kind of become a problem in the industry where, because of tough times, tighter budgets, whatever it is, and demanding shareholders, that you compromise the work, as Nobantu says, because you're trying to keep the profits and the margins intact and keep under the guise of keeping the client so that we keep jobs. And I think that's quite a common thing that's happening around the world. Where, and it's happened over the last 5 or 10 years more so than ever before. Generally speaking, there are agencies that cared less about sort of the money than they did about their own brand and where they stood. But I think an agency culture that makes account managers feel like that's their job, there's a problem, because you can never actually service the client the best way possible by protecting the client at all costs. And Nobantu said something earlier, which is true, is that you can't be delivering things that the client wants. You've got to be delivering things that their client needs. And ultimately, that's the discussion, right? So the minute you're doing things for the clients, you're not serving your agency, you're not serving yourself, you're not serving that brand, you're not serving anyone. And ultimately, ironically, is a lot of wastage of money. So it shouldn't be protecting the client. They should be actually protecting the money, which is the value that comes from a marketing spend, that you get a return on investment on a marketing spend. But yeah, unfortunately, that's the culture in a lot of agencies at the moment. Everyone's hiding behind this thing saying, times are tough and we've got to secure business as much as we can because we're saving jobs. And I think we've got to call a spade a spade. I think some people are saving jobs, but most people are saving their profit margins and their dividends, and we must be careful about the difference between those two.
Great. And so does this, Nobantu, if we're going to have this kind of environment right now where we've got this times are tough kind of excuse, are we going to start losing like this creative rock stars? I don't know, you know, creatives who really go out there and go, I fight for the idea, I do what I really need to do, and they're actually rock stars of creativity. Are we going to find that this is going to be lost over a period of time?
If we continue on this, we definitely are going to lose, the good creatives, because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable to, keep fighting each other and egos and not fight for the work, because the best creators are actually fighting for the work. And you need more creators like that who are able to, who are rock stars for the work. You become a rock star if you're able to solve business problems every day. We've also put emphasis on making creatives feel like they're untouchable and they are the be end and end all, of the creative industry, because they won a few awards. But instead, we should be putting emphasis on those creators who every day may not necessarily win the award, but at the end of the day, they're the ones who are, making sure that, your business makes profits, the ones who sell the odd FMCG, products that don't necessarily are not glamorous and sexy as all the other award-winning stuff. But, those are the rock stars of the industry. The rock stars are the client service people who understand that end of the day, you're not fighting a creative person. It's not personal. You're fighting to get the best creative out of them. And you're willing to have those uncomfortable conversations with the client because that is your end goal. Those are the rock stars of the industry. And we're losing them because they get caught up in politics every day, and they're getting frustrated by having to fight internal things that they shouldn't be fighting for, because at the end of the day, we all came here to work, right? My job here is to make the best creative work, but don't get me involved in fighting other political things and other stuff and getting me frustrated, because at the end of the day, that's why people are leaving. You look at it and you're like, why am I fighting if I'm the only one fighting for good work? Why am I fighting if at the end of the day, people have got their own agendas and not, trying to make the best work also. So I feel like, we need to find solutions to this, because at the end of the day, you're losing the best creatives, and those that are left behind are those creatives who just care about awards, or, those clients who really don't care about the consumer and are just, want you to get their names out there.
Just leading on for that, maybe Ahmed, this is for you as well. Because Nobantu, you mentioned FMCG in a space like that as well. I mean, if I look at it, so I came from the FMCG space, and one of the things you recognize, this is a space that's all about the hard sell. So you've got people who have to work on communication that's all about the hard sell itself. But over a period of time, what you're actually doing is, you're you're eroding any real need for brand equity, which is the reason why people don't mind buying a house brand, which doesn't have a brand on it versus a branded product anymore, because they go, it's all about the function, and not about the emotive benefit. And there's no kind of relationship with the brand itself. So Ahmed, we should have, like, in a space like this, and even using FMCG and having a look at categories like this, I mean, if all creative goes down this path of, in the short term, being able to absolutely deliver and show that we're adding to your bottom line in this particular year, but having this communication sustained over time, but you erode the strength of the brand to a point where the brand isn't as valuable over a period of time. Is it worth it going down this path just for some short-term gains?
It never is, right? So you know the answer. As I say, like for me, it's very simple. Like when you get into marketing, and we're talking about some major big brands here that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, most of the agencies, we're dealing with some, I mean, the marketer, if the marketer on that side does not understand the power of brand equity and how you achieve it, surely it's not the agency's job to teach them that. Like, surely you know that, you believe that, and that's when you get into this thing called marketing. Why do you want to study marketing? And when you study marketing, why do you want a job in marketing? Surely you have to believe in the power of marketing. What is the power of marketing? It's the power of a great idea about emotive connectedness to the brand, all those things. So, you know, that is the world you're living in. You get into that space, and then you're telling me to do exactly what you learned you shouldn't do. Like, I don't understand it. So for me, you know, the philosophy of great creativity, you know, standing out in a very busy and noisy world, connecting you to that human heart to create some brand equity and brand love. It's like a simple principle. How you achieve it should be where the arguments are. But what I find is that in FMCG or in any other thing, we are arguing about the fundamentals of marketing, which by definition is talking about the love connection. It's not talking about sales. Otherwise, it would have been called the sales department. So for me, I find that discussion quite an ironic one to have from a marketer. Like, I just find like if that's what you bought into, how are we having that conversation now? So I think, again, we are talking about the bad marketers. And there are good marketers who understand it. And then the arguments, the discussions, and the fights are different. Those are opinions and opinionated points of view on what good creative is. And you're allowed to have that sort of argument. But I think, you know, the former, we shouldn't be discussing it. If you're debating it, like there's Google, go check up all the top brands that you aspire to yourself as a marketer, the car you're driving, the house you're living in, the shoes you're wearing, the handbag that you bought, the coffee shop you had coffee at, the coffee that you had at home, and the water that you probably drink, and ask yourself, how did they get me to buy that? Because they didn't tell me it was $2.99 for that bottle of water. So, like go do your own homework. If I can, Preetesh, you touched on something
Please, I'm
Nobantu
loving this.
spoke.
Yeah.
Nobantu, and you were talking about creative rock stars and why they're leaving. Now, I'm very passionate about the subject because I do believe call it what you want, the rock star, creative geniuses, whatever. There are very few. One of them is Nobantu Sibeko and Kani, who she worked with, and I know a few. There's a handful of really great creative minds in this country, and in the world, but in this country, handful. When I say handful, maybe 100, whatever. I don't know what the number is. I haven't done this. And those people have a knack that many of us don't, which is the ability to take a business problem and solve it in the most unexpected ways, most joyful ways, right? That entire process is a very long process, a very difficult one. And I'll be honest with you, you know, people say everyone is creative. Yes, true, everyone has got a creative side in it, but not everyone can be a creative and a good one. And these people are very few, right? The problem is the industry is not looking after these people, and these people are leaving. And when I say why are these people not getting looked after, it's things like we've mentioned. Budgets are smaller, timelines are shorter. Marketers are not as educated, as smart, as understanding. Agencies aren't surrounding these creative people with the support they need. So what they deliver is amazing based on the circumstances and the resources that are available to them. On top of that, they are leaving our industry because our industry has abused creative people, and we have allowed it all these years, and to ourselves and to others, where we create where we should, the fight, you talk about fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
This is the good fight. The good fight
Mm.
is fighting that status quo that says that you must feel embarrassed to leave the agency at 8 o'clock at night. The fighting the good fight is saying no to pitches where they're asking you unreasonable expectations in a pitch over 2 weeks. That's the good fight. The good fight is not making people feel bad for giving up their family times, their weekends, the public holidays, their lives.
Mm.
So that's the good fight. And I think just come back to the rock stars, the great creative minds understand this very quickly. And they're going like, fuck this. I'm out of here. And they're leaving never ever to return. Guys like Loiso Madinga, one of the best creative minds, is now a comedian. He's doing that. There's so many, Donovan Goliath. They've gone to other things outside advertising because advertising did not care for them as much as the other industries do. And that is a collective fight that starts with marketers, with clients, with CEOs, and with our agency leaders to correct that. Because in the absence of that, the work's going to suffer, the industry is going to suffer, we're going to lose great people, and you're going to get a lot more, mediocrity out there, which, by the way, affects GDP. So if you really want to take a big view on it, if we don't get that right, it affects your GDP, and that's a big problem to have.
Wow. No, completely agree. I think even from a mental
Amen.
health perspective, amen. Yeah.
Amen.
Because from a mental health perspective, and I think that's one of the challenges we have. I've been chatting to a lot of really young people entering the industry, finishing university and about to get in, and some young creatives. And I think it's just such a stress in terms of just like what their life is going to be like once they get in. And we've all sat around and been in the agency and saw people who are just there and taking their time to do stuff purely because it's a timing aspect. Because if I'm seeing that I've worked on this project and I leave here at 1 in the morning, and it really does that, 1 in the morning, then there's going to be greater appreciation for what I've put out versus trying to crack it, which I could have cracked before 4:30 in the afternoon, but I needed to show that I was there until then. Just, Nobantu, from fighting this fight and fighting this good fight about improving the mental health of our industry going forward, I mean, is this going to happen, do you think, especially now when we're having these discussions about, making sure the brands are happy on these really tight timelines that they're giving us and keeping brands happy and then trying to protect the margins that's coming? Do you think we're going to find a solution in this mental health battle that's happening right now?
We don't have a choice. We need to find the solutions because you're losing good creatives, you're losing good people. And like Ahmed said, it's impacting, far more people out there than we realize. I think mental health has always been an issue in agencies, in the industry before. It's just now more people are speaking out about it, because people are tired. Sikatele, there's a thing we say, sikatele. And even that word itself, sikatele, sounds tired because we are exhausted, we're exhausted of having to fight for work and ideas that we don't even own, Somebody was saying that, you realize and you forget that you don't own the idea and the work that you're fighting so hard for. So hence, that's why you also find young people are leaving the industry because they realize that, okay, fine, I'm adding so much of myself, I'm giving so much of myself, sacrificing so much of my time with my loved ones. And for what? Because at the end of the day, I don't own that idea or that creative. And I think as an industry, we need to find solutions for it because a healthy, happy creative, a healthy, happy client service, a healthy, happy, safe environment yields the best creative. And if you want to progress forward and you want to have a better industry going forward, then we need to create a safe and happy environment for people to flourish in. Because currently it's not. So it's not even an option for us anymore, Preetesh. We need to start looking after our people. And I know that most agencies, the majority of agencies I've worked for, they had like systems in place, like, you've got your careways, sort of like what you call them, psychologists and psychology and all those things. But then, that isn't the solution to just say, okay, fine, I know that I abused you every day and, you work late night. Now go to speak to an instructor that I'm, subsidizing, at least that's there. Or let's have a drink at the bar and laugh about it and cover it out under alcohol. No, that's not the solution. The thing is, what is causing these mental breakdowns in the first place? You know, like Ahmed said, it starts from the pitch. When you go into the pitch room and you overpromise and you say you've got all these people, but you don't. You know, it's those kind of things where you need to start having conversations from those pitch rooms to say, look, yeah, honestly, looking at what you give me for a budget, this is what I can give you, honestly. You know, instead of overselling your company from the word go, because then it has a domino effect. Now you've put pressure on the agency to deliver because you overpromised. So it's those conversations where we need to put those kind of systems in place to say, no, we won't be an agency that's going to allow people to work over, to go past 5 o'clock. We're going to be the agency that says, okay, fine, 5 o'clock, we all log off because we know we're going to work hard the next 8 hours of the next day. It's those simple things. I know here MD sent an email, a 21-day challenge, where we have to step away from our computer at lunchtime. Very simple things, but from there, what people have seen is that, okay, fine, I'm in an environment where I'm encouraged to go and express myself and do other stuff besides advertising and trying to crack the brief, you know. I'm encouraged to look after my mental health and take a break and go walk. It's simple things in those kind of environments that encourages creatives to like, okay, fine, I'm gonna work harder for this for this agency because they're gonna look after me at the end of the day. You know, I feel safe enough to say, look, yeah, I won't be able to crack this brief today because it's not as easy. I'm not having a good day. But you know that those creators will come back the next day and work harder to do so because they look after. So I don't think it's an option. You know, we have to look after creatives. We have to look after our people because it's the people at the end of the day who are fighting those fights every single day. And our industry depends on good people. So we need to look after them. It's plain and simple.
Ahmed, do you think we're at risk of, I think that makes so much sense. And Ahmed, do you think we're at risk of being an industry where people eventually don't want to join this, where in a couple of years, those who have the opportunity to come look at it and go, yeah, I really don't want to get into brand comms and advertising in general because it's not a healthy environment for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the fear. I mean, I always say, I love this industry and I hate it. And we all go through that. It's nothing in between. It's loving and hating it. And I think that you've got to be sensitive to where the scales are. And maybe me stepping out of like sort of the traditional agencies helped me feel the temperature a little wider than the agency I'm in. And I feel like the industry is hating itself at the moment more than it has before. And so I think when people are in that frame of mind, it's human nature to talk about it. We talk to our friends. We post on social media, because we're now more woke. And that then suddenly becomes, a bit bigger and broader than our circle of friends, which can actually prevent a lot of people from joining an industry that could be amazing. I mean, let's say this particular industry, I love the industry. It's an industry that allowed me so many firsts in my life. It allowed me my first, flight, my first flight abroad, my first destination abroad. It allowed me lots of firsts. So it's a great industry, especially in South Africa, where a lot of people who get into this can have a few firsts, like going overseas or traveling or, doing the things we're doing or learning or meeting the people there. So I think that it is stoppable. It is at the moment, I think, a really bad place to be in. And I think the industry itself is not talking well of itself. So we got to correct that. And I think initiatives like the one Nobantu was talking about, and just fair practice and really human practice from MDs and CEOs, people in leadership, creative directors and ECDs, to say no, to create some boundaries is going to go a long way because intuitively and inherently we love this game. We want to love it more, but at the same time, we're really smart people and we're not going to take a lot of bullshit if we see it coming. So I think we can do it. And I think it's a responsibility of the senior people to exercise not what company policy is, but to exercise like some serious empathy and go like, you know what, you've worked really hard, already a weekend. You should not be working the next 3. Not you've been working hard for the last 6 weekends. Have a weekend off. And I think that's the difference is that we've got to start readjusting because our normal in advertising is never a normal. We've got to bring it closer to a human normal. Otherwise, no one's going to want to join this industry.
The sad part, though, is that people who've come through, I'm going to call it an abusive system, have come through this abusive experience and have now risen to the top. Many people are just so used to it at that point is that they push the same kind of thinking down and don't see the issue. And what we really need is for people to actually see the issue that exists instead of just perpetuating it.
Yeah, it's the thing about, when I was your age, I used to work that whole syndrome. And but I have faith in people. I have faith in advertising people. I think, again, the likes of the Nobantus of the world, who are the generation now that are leading, are far more sensitive than perhaps we were. And it's up to them. And I'm serious, like, this generation is the generation of leaders that must lead us into not just new creative, but creative work, but new creative values. So I have faith in Nobantu. So Nobantu, it's your responsibility to fix the whole industry. And if you
By
fuck that
myself.
up, then we are in trouble.
Just waiting about to now all your direct reports are going to come to Nobantu. Remember, very scared about things. I need next week off.
Oh, I can see them. And I'm like, you know what, guys, it wouldn't be something new because already, it's something, the conversations I have every day and the fights we fight and the conversations we have is, trying to build a very healthy and safe environment for young people to come in and flourish and feel that they can actually, do better than me. That's my thing. I'm always telling young people, I want to retire at 40, guys. So I don't want to be having the same conversations where, you had to work late. I was, no, because that means we're not progressing, I want, young people to earn more than me as young Black creative director. I want to see more females because it means that I can go offline at 5. I can go sip some wine and rest because there's a whole agency and a whole industry of young people who are, progressing the work, progressing the industry. So, that's that for me. Bring it on. Come, let's have conversations about how we can actually, create those environments, how we can help agencies become those agencies who do perpetuate a healthy environment, because that's the only way we can move forward. I don't want to be here like Ahmed at 70 and speaking to you guys. I want to go live.
69. But Preetesh, you know what's interesting is that, like, there's working hard and late, right? There's an interesting thing. Creative minds don't stop. Like, they don't. Like, if you're working on a project for creative and you're trying to crack an idea, like, you literally don't stop. So I think part of it is trying to force yourself away, like Nobantu said and King James are doing, away from the computer screen so that you can crack the idea. Because I think the distance allows creative people to be able to do that. I think there's a lot of the hours, the man hours that are spent in agencies just to prove that you've worked late, or just to prove that you spend a lot of hours doing a lot of stuff that you don't need to do. Like in pictures, you'll see people doing reams and reams, like 300 slides, 200 slides of every element from the wobbler to the thing. And actually, when you go and present the stuff, everyone falls asleep. So it's about being smart about what you're spending your hours on. because then, I posted this thing on LinkedIn. It said agency people these days are not exhausted because they have too much to do, but because they have too little that they're proud of, right? And I think that's another big thing, is that we are working so hard and so long, and what's coming out there is this mediocre piece of shit. And then you go, what was it all for? And that frustration, that anger, that becomes resentment. And then you just go like, why am I doing this? And you'll hear creative people say, we're not saving lives here. That is usually the result of putting all the effort in to polish a turd. So I think we've got to be quite careful that it's not about not working hard. I've always believed in hard work. My parents taught me this is a good thing, but it's working hard for something that comes out at the end of it that everyone is proud of. And then you don't mind working a little harder. What's happening right now is we're putting all the hours doing things that we know should not be done. Is a waste of our lives. And I think we got to start thinking about what we want to spend our hours on, as opposed to just cutting the hour short, because I think you'll have less people complaining. And I suppose when I say, as my, what was it, 70 years old, when I was in my 20s, when I was in my 20s, I was working as hard as the young Nobantu, maybe even harder, and spending more hours, but I was less I was less angry about things because what was coming out of there was like challenging me and was beautiful stuff and was doing great work for the clients. So it was worth it. When there's less to be worth it about, then it's pointless. It's pointless.
You know, also what I don't get, and this is maybe my controversial opinion of one, is I don't get why we now suddenly believe that if you really want to crack the solution to an idea, it's got to happen behind a computer screen or around the table. Go out into where the people who are using the product, who are buying that service, are actually using it, and observe and be out in the real world. You'll find solutions in the real world, not from a computer screen and not around necessarily only a boardroom table. Only after you've spent your time out there with real people in the real environment where they're actually experiencing that product or service, then come back to your computer screen, then come back to your table. No, we start at a computer screen or we start around the table. Boggles the mind.
Preetesh, you know, what's missing from the industry, which is so interesting. I'm sitting there, and I'm a big fun. There's no more fun. And creativity is supposed to be fun. The more fun you're having, the better the work is, right? You do not have fun in front of a computer screen. Yes, there's a time when you're crafting something that is enjoyable. You have fun when you're out there. You have fun when you're debating. You have fun when you're discussing. You have fun when you're challenging yourself to come up with an idea. And I think the fun element in our business, because you've heard it, you've all heard it, that the business of advertising has been forced to become more of a business, right? So you got too much business in my mind and too little fun. There's no magic. And so that's what creativity used to be. It used to be laughing a lot. It was talking a lot of shit. It was kicking your feet up. It was going out for brainstorms outside your space. It was going to the movies. It was doing things that were enjoyable. That didn't mean that you were slacker. It just meant you were enjoying doing what advertising is supposed to be. And so we need to inject fun back in there. And part of the fun is having respectful leaders. Part of the fun is having boundaries. Part of the fun is having laughter, is enjoying it, is having clients who allow you to do great work. But put the fun back in advertising, otherwise it will die. And advertising when it's fun, and I've seen it, right? I've actually, when I look at Black River and I look at the great work we did, right, was when the noise level in that agency was the highest, when the laughter was the highest. I wish I had a science, but I know, because I know who was there. There were times when like Loiso Madinga was there, or Kaya Dlanga was in there, and there were times when these big characters were in there and the laughter levels went up and the quality of the work was up there as well. There's a direct correlation between having fun and producing great work.
Amazing. Speaking about having fun, I realize we've had so much fun. We've gone past our time. So thank you both. I know, right? I know. See, this is, I wish we should have been doing this around the table, but
Creative 2 hours, you should call it. Creative 2
I
hours.
know. We have to spend an hour, you know, bean counters there these days in the advertising industry will have our heads. But maybe Nobantu, starting with some parting words about fighting this good fight and you know, the need for us to continue fighting for some fun. Why should we be doing it?
Fighting for some fun means fighting for your people, you know, fight for your people, look after them, fight for time, you know, like Ahmed said, we shouldn't be working harder, we should be working smarter. Give people time to go live and have fun so that they can come back and make the best work for your brands. Fight for time, fight for your people, and be nice to each other, guys. Like every contract says, don't be dicks. That's all I'm fighting for. Yeah. Don't be dicks. Respect each other. That's it.
Amazing advice. Ahmed, your side.
Yeah, I just want to say the reason you fight the good fight is because it's worth it. And I think that when advertising is fun, it is the best industry and best career in the world. And I can attest to that. So the reason you should fight to have fun in advertising is that fun gives you great work, and great work pushes everybody up in the world. So, and when that happens, it's magical. So it's worth it. That's the reason. I think advertising is worth fighting the good fight for. And I know in the Loeries section, so it's popular here, but it's not a popular view to say advertising is worth it and advertising is a great career to get into. I believe it, but we've got to fix it, and I think it's worth fighting for.
Amazing. Ahmed, thank you so much. Nobantu, thank you so much for your time today as well. And I'm going to promise you both and to everyone watching, just so you know, the Loeries is working on bringing some fun back into our industry. So we're working on some fun stuff for the end of the year as we head towards Loeries Creative Week. So if anyone wants to be part of that, just remember, get your entries in. Entries close 31st of May. But Ahmed, Nobantu, thank you so much. And to everyone from all over Africa and the Middle East and also outside as we had as well. Thank you so much to all of you who've joined and appreciate your time. Tune in next week. We've got another good one next week as well. Take care, everyone. Take it easy. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Go have fun. Bye, guys.
Go have fun.
Fun.